voters.
You know, and then to that point, with the issue, there's an overriding issue with the mail-in ballots, and we kind of brought this issue to light last week. That when you look at the mail-in ballots, there's a lot of discrepancy with the mail-in ballots. So some people didn't know whether to mail in the sample ballot that they got or whether that was an official ballot. And I'll kind of defer to Sean to go into detail because I'm actually about to go into an appointment. But I want to make sure that issue was raised and into its detail, and then what some of the outcomes can be for the residents and voters to make sure that their vote actually counts.
All right, and family, we will be joined by our other team member, Mary Hughes, sometime during the afternoon of the program. And again, if you want to get on deck now. 410-481-1010 is the number. And again, we are streaming live on WOLB Baltimore.com. So please take us with you wherever you may go. So family, we have a serious discussion this afternoon, and please get your pens and paper out, and because I'm going to need y'all to reach out and make sure that your neighbors that may not have this information, that you reach out to them and you give them this information. So we're going to go straight to the lines, the news breaking lines, and we have Sean Sims on the line, just truly someone who I have learned to respect in the independent journalism community. Had a great memorial forum that he put together, and I got to thank him for being inclusive of all the candidates, whether they are considered to be top candidates or not. Family, please give it up for Sean Sims. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jason. How are you all doing today?
Great. We're doing well, but we have some concerns because we hear that there is something going on in reference to the Board of Elections that some people may not even be aware of. I've already reached out to a few folks, and they weren't aware that there's an issue with their mail-in ballots. Can you expound on that for the community?
Well, here we go again. We have election time, and of course we have another debacle. I was in touch with the Board of Elections this morning to find out exactly what is going on with these ballots, these specimen ballots. That's the name. Usually they call them a sample ballot and put it out so people they can know how to fill out the proper ballots and send them in. But this time it looks like what they've done is they've called it a specimen ballot, and that's on the front page with your name and your address and your information. It says specimen ballot. But here's the kicker. Here's the thing. On the inside, it says official ballot. Presidential primary election, May 14th, 2024. So people are getting confused. The seniors are getting confused as well. And they're thinking, oh, this is the ballot. This is official, because it does say official ballot. They're sending them in, and the Board of Elections did confirm with me that they're receiving a lot of these ballots that are coming in, and they do, listen, folks, they do not count. So the Board of Elections told me that one of their officials said that they're reaching out to people within the day of actually receiving these ballots. They're reaching out to let them know that they should go to the polls and vote, because their ballot that they sent in is no good. There's not enough time to resend the proper ballot out because of the time constraints. So everyone, this is very important. The ballot that you're sending in, if it had specimen on the front, and you sent that ballot in, even though it says official ballot, it's not going to count.
So what else is the Board of Elections prepared to do to remedy this beyond trying to contact someone to let them know that they now need to go to the polls?
Well, Crystal, from what I'm getting is there's really not much anything else they're really going to do other than reach out to the persons who sent in the specimen ballot, thinking it was the real ballot, to reach out with, I believe, a phone call. We know how that could go. First of all, how are we going to verify that they're reaching out with a phone call? What type of documentation or verification and the process, the mechanism, the process, the system itself is going to verify that? And another thing, even if they do, how are people going to get back? Are they going to answer the phone? It may come up as a spam or a scam call or Board of Elections or whatever. So you're talking about a very convoluted situation here that a lot of votes may not get counted in this election.
Wow, that's very interesting. I happened to be out at the polls on yesterday and had an in-depth conversation with someone, and I won't mention their name, but who has been a part of the Board of Elections process. And she was telling me that when a ballot or something comes in, if they're able to indeed verify the intent of what was meant, that they keep the original ballot and they transfer the information to a correct ballot. One, I never knew that happened. Two, I would not trust anybody at the Board of Elections to do that. And three, if they can transfer correct information and for someone that should be voted for, then it seems to me that they could mistransfer information to have votes for people that shouldn't be voted for. But, I'm not saying that anybody down there would do anything fraudulent. But it just opens up a whole door of opportunity for things to not be on the up and up.
Well, I mean, does that become confusing?
Absolutely.
It becomes confusing, but here's the thing. You got someone telling you, oh, well, is this a sample ballot or a specimen ballot that this person was speaking specifically about transferring that information?
She said anything that comes in, even if someone put an X instead of populating it in. She said, a whole lot of things go on behind the scenes, which, I can imagine. But they do due diligence when they go through those to, if they can verify the intent, they can see what the intent was of the voter, that those would be, she didn't see why those wouldn't be transferred over. But I just still see a big discrepancy in that, even with the whole fact that we're not taking care to send out the correct information. No different than, the last election when people got the wrong information for the Harlem Park voting location, and they got 2 ballots, and they were never told that their location was closed down. And again, it impacted our voters that vote all the time, our older adults for the most part, and new voters.
Well, absolutely, Crystal, and the point that you just raised, that was just raised about intent, so that becomes very subjective. It leaves it up to the discretion of the person who is looking at the ballot to make a judgment call, and that is absolutely problematic and a real red flag. Also, the opportunity for folks to come in, and Sean, perhaps you can help us think through this, to combat the folks with mail-in votes who want to now reconsider their mayoral options given the change. We were told through the media that all they had to do was contact the Board of Elections, and if their mail-in had not yet been processed, then they could get a new ballot. So what does that look like? Have there been any written guidelines publicized to really educate the public in real time, short notice, as to what they can do to change their vote?
Well, this is what it seems like the Board of Elections needs to get themselves a PR person, because they're doing a terrible job in reference to informing the community. I haven't heard this is the first that I'm hearing of this from Sean Sims. I haven't heard this on the news. This should be a public service announcement playing every hour on the hour during early voting to let you know that there's been a discrepancy and you may want to check. Sean, hold your... Go ahead. Because we're at the top of the hour. Go ahead.
I want to make this clear, because look, this is what I was told by the Board of Elections. I was told that they're coming in. These specimen ballots are being sent in by people who think they're really voting. They will not count. I was not told we're going to transfer the information by what intent that. No, I wasn't told that. Then I was told they're going to reach out. So there's really nothing else they're going to do. People need to know this, and need to know if they sent that specimen ballot in, it will not count, and that they need to call the Board of Elections. And is it okay for me to give out their number, Jason?
Yeah, because I was also going to give it out as well, but go ahead. Okay.
The Board of Elections, 410-396-5550. That's 410-396-5550. Jason's going to give it back out to you again as well. Call them. And if you sent in a ballot to make sure yours was counted, and that you sent in the correct ballot, and if you didn't, to go actually vote. Find out what's going on.
Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour. Sean, don't go anywhere, and I know the team is going to be here for a few more minutes after the hour as well, because everybody wants to get out to the polling stations and do their work in the community. But Sean, please don't go anywhere. Hold the dial. Family, we have to ask this question coming back on the top of the hour. Who benefits from this, or who doesn't benefit from these sample specimen ballots? We'll try to figure that out when we come. This is not a break. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People radio program right here on Team WOLB 1010 on your dial. You cannot afford to lose your way. You come too far from where you started. 1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ-FM HD3 Baltimore. The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers. Once you realize it wasn't worth it, your destiny is too important to give up for anything. Welcome back, family. Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People radio show, heard each and every Monday right here at 11:30 to 1 p.m. on WOLB 1010 a.m. And you can listen to us while you're out and about. Take us with you. Lock us in your car. Lock us in on your phone. While you're at work, listen to us. You can easily do so by going to WOLBbaltimore.com. It plays on any device, or you can download the WOLB app. It's a great app. It has an alarm clock on it, and it'll keep you locked into all of the powerful shows that come on these airwaves throughout the week. But family, we are talking with Sean Sims, and of course the team is all here with us, and we are talking about just the discrepancies in reference to the Board of Elections and a mailing out of specimen ballots, they're called. Specimen sample. They used to be called sample ballots. They're now being called specimen ballots. And the inside of those ballots, they're showing that it says official. So a lot of folks that may get those ballots may think that those are an official ballot. Most likely, those ballots will not be counted. I did reach out to the Board of Elections at the time of airing to ask them for a statement. We have not heard back from them as of yet. We do hear anything back from them by email. We will read their comments to the community. But this is an issue because there may be folks that may not be counted during this election cycle, and we have to ask the question. And I'm going to present this to the team and present this to Sean. Who benefits and who doesn't benefit from this discrepancy? And is this a win for Team Sheila Dixon, whereas maybe the majority of those mail-in ballots may be more seniors? And maybe more 60 and older, 50 and older crowd? Does this benefit Brandon? Because those ballots may be, those type of ballots may be more from our seniors. And do those ballots not get counted, for the right candidate? Let's bring it to the team and to Sean. What do you think? Who wins and who loses in this? Besides the people.
I'll say this much. When it comes to ballots that are being sent in and people who are misreading the ballots, a lot of times what happens is with our seniors, our older adults, at that point in life, even though they have done so much for us and given us so much wisdom, sometimes it's just harder to deviate between what's a sample or specimen ballot and the real thing, especially if you have official ballot. Now let's look at it. If seniors are more affected, which is what I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if they're going to be more affected by this, who's going to have more of the senior vote? Who has more of the senior vote in this election? I'm going to go out on a limb and say Brandon's got more of the youth and Sheila's got more of the senior vote. So in my professional opinion as a campaign strategist and advisor, that this would benefit Brandon Scott.
Right. I think Bob also has an opportunity to benefit from our Golden Warriors if they are using the mail-in ballots as well. Just to put that out there. But team, what do you think? Who loses and who wins in this besides the people?
Permit me to say, before I lose it, lose my train of thought as a senior, that I think everybody loses. The American public loses because it's another thorn in the stake of democracy. It shows that our processes have not yet been perfected with the degree of integrity and the degree of accuracy and excellence that we deserve in 21st century America. And we have to hold the people accountable once again who are compensated to be thoughtful and deliberate and intentional before we get to the point when we need to vote to ensure that everything is crystal clear and that they are fallback processes and safe processes that will govern any mistake in the process. This is C-, D+ work again in a city that has the potential to be the brightest in the United States of America.
And I would definitely have to concur with, a combination of what Mr. Sims and Ms. Batts said. It frustrates the system once again and puts the onus on the populace to then do their civic duty that they thought they've already completed, but then to have to go back behind, a machine or an agency that did not do what they were supposed to do, did not perform in a way that was diligent to make sure that these types of issues don't impact the quality and the sanctity and the ethics involved in the voting machine. The other issue that is occurring as well is when we talk about redistricting. I saw some of the older adults, they were filling out, they had questions about their sample ballots or specimen ballots, and come to find out they were in a whole new district and had no idea, and neither did I. So you have people that were once in one councilmatic district and are now in another councilmatic district. They don't know those people or those names at all. So again, that was another thing that was not publicized to the extent to give that education that the community needs to be informed voters. It is frustrating enough to try to decipher between what a candidate's intentions are, or who's going to do what, or who's telling the next, untruth, to then have me vote, do my civic duty, and then have to go behind and do something else when I thought I was already done what I was charged to do as a citizen. It's ridiculous. Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
That sounds like how Patrick used to say, that sounds like a bunch of chicken poo-poo to me.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of nonsense, unfortunately. Will, what about you? Are you still on the line with us, Will? Is Will still there?
I think, no. Will is
so Will went to his appointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you guys don't have any other particular comment, I'd like for us to go to the lines.
Excuse me, Jason, I just have one comment.
Yes.
And that is,
Sure.
What should the public do now that they understand that there is a potential for compromise with the process? Who should they be notifying?
There are councilmen. That's what the councilman, the Baltimore City council person, man or woman as well, and your congressman. And you submit the because this is a federal matter as well. This is an election. This is a federal matter. You have a situation where you're having, like 2 years ago, flash drives went missing, and they had to go into the machines to get the flash drives. Some of the flash drives they didn't even find, and they replaced them with new flash drives, which means that the checks and balance system during that election 2 years ago was thrown out the window. And now you have an issue with the ballots, specimen looking like real ballots, people sending them in, the voter process that is set up where people are to get their ballots to go to the polls, and just like Linda said, just like Crystal said, it should be a process where it's clear. There's no misunderstanding. The election is put together properly. The rules of the election board are followed, and that should be focused on so that people make the decision and who they're going to pick, and it's going to count. It's not going to be held against them because they send something in error that simply looks like a real ballot. That is wrong.
And then let me just add this so that we can go towards, the entire process, election process, voting process in the state of Maryland needs to be overhauled, needs to be audited. The State Board of Elections, the city, Baltimore City, I know this is impacting the entire state, but there needs to be, Will's back on the line as well, but there needs to be an audit in those offices. What bothers me even more is that when issues like this are uncovered, there is no sense of urgency to make any types of corrections. That bothers me even more. So, sorry about that.
Well, I agree with you, Crystal. There should be a sense of urgency. There's not. And this goes on over and over and over and over again. Armstead Jones is the executive director of the Baltimore City Board of Elections. The governor, and I believe the lieutenant governor for sure, they were trying to get him out of that position because of so many errors and mistakes and types of malfeasance that was going on. They didn't want him there anymore. Yet he is still there. I don't understand that. That is insane to me as a citizen of the state of Maryland. It doesn't make any sense. And the Baltimore City voters, why do they not stand up and say, you know what, enough's enough. This process needs to be done correctly so we know who the true person of voters, this democratic republic that is being run properly.
Let's get to the
I know we've lost, hold on 1 second, Chris. So I know we lost Linda Lamone, and I'm not sure exactly what the new director is doing. Obviously nothing. We're still seeing these issues. I've had folks actually bring me issues talking about how they sent back mail-in ballots of someone who had passed away, and those ballots got mailed back out again. And I wonder how many of those, ballots of folks that are no longer with us, are still being cycled in and out of the system, and in some cases may even get counted in the process. So there are a lot of possible election irregularities that need to be addressed, and we really need to hold the new director accountable for this. Will, really quick before we go to the lines, Crystal, Will is back on the line. Let's go to Big Will real quick.
That was incorrect. It's we have a caller, Mr.
I thought Will was on the line.
My fault.
I thought he was on the line. Well, Crystal, lead us to the callers.
All right,
I
John, let's hear from you, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, my sister and brother. I think we as a people, don't, check our papers. Like, first, every time, if I was telling somebody to vote, we need to vote, then I would have a list at least a month ahead of time of the voting locations. The same way if I said, if I said last month, we need to get out and vote, then I would have a list of voting places is here, here, and here. So therefore, if we're getting the information where a voting place is available and we hardly don't even know, that should be corrected on our side. And as far as the mayors are concerned, see, I vote on certain kind of little things that you say. If you say, you understand, I know I shouldn't say this here,
but I'm going to say it anyhow. Most of the money that comes for black people in this city goes to pink people. Now, I listened to that brother said that. I said, that's a positive thing, because I know that, you know that. Now, let's ask the other mayor the same question. Do you think most of the money that comes into the city goes to pink people? Now, if the answer is the same, yes, but we still are running, that's good. Two good mayors. I mean, but if I'm going to ask a question to a mayor as a hard question, what about the squeezer kids? Thank you, my sister and brother.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Very strong points. And I think that, you know, Crystal, it just reminds me, I think that we're going to have to really reach out to the new director, Jared, I think it's Marinus, I believe is his name or something like that, Marinus. I'm very unfamiliar with him. But we need to bring him on the program and really hold him accountable for there's a plethora of issues in reference to voting here in Baltimore City that need to be addressed at the state level. Crystal, let's go to the lines.
Looks like we have Mr. Leo on the line.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Let me say I'm just hearing of the concerns that you raised, and this bespeaks of a continuing pattern and practice of malpractice on the part of the Board of Elections. It seems to be every election we have all this kind of confusion. I do think that no one should mail in a ballot of any kind that they don't have a copy of or keep a copy of. That's just my own personal feeling. I would think that you need to consider a class action lawsuit of some type of kind, futuristic, because when we wait until the election has begun, the primary election or whatever, then we're in the weeds in terms of an inability to correct a situation that works to the advantage of the incumbent or the person who's already holding office in many cases. So I would think that we've got to start 6 months, a year ahead, 8 months out, in making sure that we know the process and it's spelled out to the public, the process that the Board of Elections is going to use in conducting the election. Why would you change the name from a sample ballot to a specimen ballot?
Yes.
Yes, specimen.
Why would you change the name from sample to specimen? What is that? That's the same thing, isn't it?
Which is the same thing. A rose by another name is still a rose. So
Yes, so that makes no sense. That makes no sense. You don't do that. So we got to futuristic there. I don't let others call in, but we've got to find out ahead of time how that's set up. And unfortunately, we may have to mitigate this thing to prevent these shenanigans from continuing, because I feel like it's by design. This happens over and over in Baltimore City. It should not be happening. It's designed to maintain the status quo, and it works to the advantage of all those incumbents, whether they're Brandon Scott or Sharon Green Middleton, who's been there 17 years in office as vice president of the city council, and we can go on and on. They simply do not want changes of substance or reform in our city. So keep up the good work and call on me to do whatever you intend to do futuristically. But this is going to go on and on until we litigate it to the point that they have to spell it out within so many months ahead of the election that people know what to do and not to do. Thank you so much.
Well, Leo, if you could please just make sure you pass the word on to your Golden Warriors in your building, that they may want to go ahead and do a check and make sure that they did send the right ballot in. If they're not sure, then to please call the Board of Elections, 410-396-5550 is the phone number. Please have them reach out and just make sure that their vote is counted.